Well, good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning. Good morning. A week yesterday, not yesterday, Saturday, the Saturday before, Yvonne and I took our grandchildren, Charlie and Alfie, to McDonald's. Now, I'm very conscious that I have my grandparenting skills have been, in the eyes of some, put beyond the pale by taking them to McDonald's. But there we go. I asked the parents first. They said, good, it's okay. And the toy in their Happy Meal was this, not that one. It's a whole series. So if we go another time, we might pick that one up. This is the one I want you to focus on, okay? I can be a champion runner. And it's designed to inspire children with the real life story of a runner from the 20th century. But it was that title that really drew my attention. Little child sitting in McDonald's, you can be a champion runner. I questioned that title. Okay? Not just personally, right? Which is absolutely true. I cannot be a champion runner. I questioned it for the little kids who picked that up and went away saying, I can be a champion runner. Can anyone become anything? Is that true? Can anyone become anything? Can anyone become a footballer, a famous runner, a famous skier? Does everyone have the potential to become anything they wish? I am sure you're aware this is a very common, popular view today. Follow your dreams. You can become a Usain Bolt, a Hannah Hampton, an Einstein. Whatever you want, you can do it. And I'm here this morning to tell you it's a cruel lie. Is that right? It's a cruel lie. Why? Because you and I, when we were born, were blessed with certain genetic gifts. Is that right? A certain height, a certain physique, a certain abilities. And then by nurture, as we grew up through our parenting, we acquired other gifts. So we have gifts of nature and gifts of nurture, and those two things together determine what any one of us are capable of and not capable of. We cannot become anything. Is that right? Have I got that right? Listen, parents, you want to encourage your kids to flourish in every way, but let's not place upon them impossible burdens and almost certain disappointment. Let's not place those things on their tiny little shoulders. You can do anything. You can be anything. And then they discover the hard reality that they can't. I think the world knows that's a lie. And I tell you why. In 2017, there was a young man, I won't tell you his name yet, and he was a good sportsman, and he was wondering, what might I do in life? And so he went through a sporting program called Discover Your Gold. And that program tests you out, your size, your height, your build, your physique, your skills. And it says to you at the end of that, don't try those sports, try this one. And this young lad in 2017 went through that program. And the process of that program, at the end of that, they said, we think you'll be best at the skeleton. Do you know what the skeleton is? That ridiculously fast bobsled. Do you know that thing that comes at 100 miles an hour down that icy slope? It's so frightening. And they said, that is your skill. And sure enough, Matt Weston won gold for us. Am I the only one who keeps up with sport? How many of you knew that Matt Weston won? Well, that's good, a few of us. Okay. It's a very esoteric sport. It's a tiny little sled that goes down. I think it reaches almost 100 miles an hour down a glassy, icy run. So I think the world says, I do actually know you can't become anything, because we'll have this sporting program, we'll test you out, and according to your gifts and your abilities, we'll send you in a certain direction. Now, why do I begin with that story? There are two reasons. One is we are learning from Romans 12, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So every parent ought to question every urban myth that our culture adopts and believes. Is that right? It's an urban myth. Your child can do anything. They can't. They literally can't. And you and I, as believers, are in the business of questioning the thinking of the world. And to say, no, that's wrong, teacher. I'm not going to press that upon my child. I'm not going to put those unrealistic expectations on their tiny shoulders. The second reason I mention it is because when we become leaders, we're going to discover this morning we have a spiritual gift, and we don't have every gift. And we don't get to choose what gift we have. Yeah? All of us in this room have a spiritual gift, but we can't just say, oh, I want that gift, or I want that gift, or I want to be that, or want to be that. We're going to discover this morning that it is God who gives to each one of us the spiritual gift that we have. You are either an ear, or an eye, or a foot, or a hand. Do you remember that from last Sunday? And if you are an ear, then your task is to hear. You will not be able to see. If you're a foot, you'll be able to walk, but you won't be able to hear. Okay? So in the church, just like in the world, we can't do anything. We have to ask the Lord, what have you made me? Have you made me an ear, an eye, a hand, or foot? Well, I want to find out, and I want to do that. And since this is a side point, no believer has all the gifts. We need each other. Is that right? You're only an eye, so you can only see. That means, as a Christian, you need ears and hands and feet around you to function properly. No Christian can make it on their own. Is that right? Just that body analogy. Since the eye cannot hear, it needs the ear. Since the ear cannot walk, it needs the foot. Since the foot cannot hold a steering wheel, it needs the hand. I wonder if this has ever happened to you. It's happened to me. Have you sometimes felt as a believer profoundly inadequate, vulnerable, and unable to cope on your own? Have you ever had those moments? It's a really good experience to have, because it's a reminder that you are only human and you're only one tiny little part of a bigger body, and you need all the rest of the parts of the body to make it. Yeah? It's a good experience to go through. I'm just on my own. I'm tiny, I'm small, I'm thick, I'm ignorant, I have no wisdom. Yeah, you're made like that. You're made like that, and you're placed within a body, and you need all the rest of the parts of the body to function properly. Carry one another's burdens, and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. This morning, I'm just going to explore, very simple sermon this morning. I'm just going to explore from Romans 12 and other parts of Scripture, spiritual gifts. One fact and two applications. The fact is, this is point number one, all of us have a spiritual gift. two implications. Therefore, let's find out what that spiritual gift is. And number three, let's get out and use it, all right? We all have a gift. Find out what that gift is and use it. So let's start with the beginning. All of us have a spiritual gift. Verse 5, we have different gifts according to the grace given to us. Not according to Roy's choosing or your choosing. We have different gifts according to the grace given to us. In 1 Corinthians 12, Paul puts it like this. He lists the gifts, some of them. All these are the work of the same Spirit, and he gives them to each one just as he determines. You're an eye, an ear, a hand, a foot. Your gift might be teaching, encouraging, giving, showing mercy, leading, administration, serving, being an evangelist, being a pastor. The list here are not, I think there's 7 gifts in Romans 12. In Romans 12, there's another list in 1 Corinthians 12. In Ephesians 4, there are more gifts. There's lots and lots of gifts. They're only representative. These gifts here. How many organs are there in a human body? Anyone? Chance an answer. I asked this morning, we had a doctor present, and she didn't know. I felt bad putting her on the spot. Sorry? Johnny. Oh, that's Google. That's where I got mine from too. It's about 78. Just think of all the different parts of your body. That is the analogy Paul wants you and I to have in our minds all the time. I am just a part of a body, therefore I desperately need all the others. So there are lots and lots and lots and lots of gifts. And maybe this morning this is new teaching for you. You didn't realize that God has given you a special gift which all the rest of us need. Or maybe you do realize it, and maybe there's someone here this morning, and you think it's such a small gift. It's not really all that important. It's only tidying up. It's only hospitality. It's only making the coffee. And we want to say this morning, all the gifts are important. Is that right? All the gifts that God gives are important. In the church at Corinth, lots of young Christians. I wouldn't have liked to have been the Apostle Paul. The wonderful things were happening in the church of Corinth. But, there's a lot of mess because there's lots of babies in the church at Corinth. Okay? And lots of those young Christians wanted all the big showy gifts, right? They all want to speak in tongues and prophesy. Look at me. They all wanted to be up at the front. And that meant that some of the believers there who had not hand gifts or eye gifts, but foot gifts, out of the way gifts, that they felt, maybe I don't belong here because my gift is so humble. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, very showy and visible, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason to cease to be part of the body. Paul had to bring comfort to people who didn't have showy gifts. And he had to say to them, you really are important. Your gifts are important. Whatever gift you have been given this morning, it's absolutely necessary for the rest of us. Yeah? Whatever that gift is, it's absolutely necessary. I'm going to use a number of personal examples this morning. Let me make the mistake and you can learn from it, right? So I'm going to share some of my mistakes in life. This first illustration is not a mistake. When I worked at Yale Locks after my A-levels, I went up to the lunch hall the very first day. And do you know what I found? I found there were 2 canteens. There was a posh canteen for the white-collar people. Do you know what? I don't know. Do they do this in factories anymore, Christian? No, that's 70s. That's all gone. All gone. No upstairs, downstairs. Right. Okay. Well, there was in those days. So there was a really posh canteen For white-collar workers, these are people who use their brains and work in the offices and do the leading and the admin. And then for us scruffy blokes, right, who do the real work, there was the blue-collar cafe. And it was very much, I see it now, I can actually see it. It's sort of a division in this mezzanine floor, and it's a posh restaurant area for the white-collar workers, and a scruffy, ordinary sausage and chips for the rest of us in the blue collar. And I found that offensive back then. I found that offensive. Listen, brothers and sisters, all the gifts are important in the church. Is that right? Equally important. So that's number one. You have a spiritual gift. Number two, let's go out of our way to find it then. Okay, what's your spiritual gift? I've not included these. I'm going to give you 4 steps for finding your spiritual gift. I've not written these 4 on the screen, so if you want to write them down, this is where you need to start. You need to start with 1 Peter 4, verses 10 to 11. Each one of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. Look at that. Here is Peter, as well as Paul, urging God's people to use their spiritual gifts as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Now, I want you to listen carefully. He has 2 big categories of gift. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides. All spiritual gifts divide into those 2 big categories. You this morning either have a speaking gift or you have a serving gift. So a serving gift is all the many practical gifts that we need for the smooth running of any church: admin, finances, cleaning, setting up, hosting, cooking. And the speaking gifts, now here's a real problem. As soon as you mention speaking gift, tell me what everybody thinks of immediately. Preaching. That is such a mistake. In the category of speaking gift are all the times when somebody might get alongside somebody else and encourage them. You take someone to coffee, for a coffee, who's feeling down, and you encourage them. That's a speaking gift. It's a great I remember some years ago, a brother emailed me and he said, I'm not getting enough chances to preach at my church. Right? I saw red. Saw lots of other colors, but I saw red as well. And I sent a lovely email back. I said, brother, there are lots of ways you can use your speaking gift in the church that doesn't involve preaching. Have you ever taken someone out for coffee? Yeah. He wrote me a really nice email back, because I wrote him a nice email. I was cross when I got his email with a righteous anger, because it's a misunderstanding. And he wrote me a lovely email back and said, thank you for pointing that out, Roy. I can use my speaking gift not only by preaching on a Sunday, but by loving others. What about going into the hall next door when we go for coffee? And you find someone in the hall who's looking down or on their own. That's a speaking gift, right? You get alongside them. You offer them a word of encouragement. So you've either got a serving gift or you've got a speaking gift, which might be one-to-one, leading a home group, young church, leading a class in young church, explorers, all sorts of ways in which you use your speaking gift to encourage others. So that is the place to start. What do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy serving or do you enjoy speaking? This is interesting. The 2 offices in church life divide right down in that same category. The gift of elders is the gift of speaking. And the gift of deacons is the gift of serving. Now, of course, there's crossover. And people who are deacons sometimes use their speaking gifts. But as a general rule, Acts chapter 6, that's where the division took place. The elders were speaking, the apostles, and the deacons appointed were serving. Number 2. So first of all, have you got a speaking gift? Have you got a serving gift? Number 2, be sober in your self-analysis. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the faith that God has distributed to each of you. Ask yourself, have you really got that gift? And in what measure have you got that gift? So this is where I use my personal failures as an illustration. When I was starting to preach, I remember on more than one occasion, I'm embarrassed by what I'm just about to tell you, and I'm only going to share it to you because this is 40 years ago, Roy. Okay, that's the deal. It's not me. And I remember thinking on more than occasion, I can preach better than my pastor. Wow. I actually had those thoughts on more than one occasion. That was not sober judgment, was it? And if today Roy thought that he was in the same league as Charles Spurgeon and John Wesley and George Whitefield, that would not be sober judgment. Brothers and sisters, there's something very beautiful about being content with the gifting we've been given. Is that right? I'm just Roy. I'm just an ordinary pastor. That's what I am. So the second key to understanding your gifting is, you prefer speaking to serving. You think that's your gift, or that's your gift. Then just be sober in your judgment about that gifting. Step number 3, ask others around you, do you think I have this gift? And you may get one of 3 responses. They might say, yes, we see that gift in you. They might say, I'm not sure. And they might say something surprising. They may say, I'm not sure you've got that gift, but you're very good at this. And they point out a gifting that you have never, ever thought of yourself. Yeah? Because we're all looking at each other. We're in a home group setting. We're looking at one another's gifts. Do you remember Moses? How old is he? He's 80. And he's a shepherd looking after his father, looking after sheep. That's right, Reg. He was looking after sheep. And he's looking after his father-in-law's sheep. And one day, God called him to be the leader of Israel. And what did he say? No way. No way. I can't speak. I can't lead. God saw something in Moses that Moses did not see in himself. And he called Moses to that 40-year task of leading God's people. So ask people around you, what do you think my gift is? I would encourage you to particularly ask your church leaders, because according to Ephesians 4, they're called to prepare God's people for works of service. So ask all your friends, what do you think my gift is? And then ask your elders and listen to their words. I know when I was a young man, I did not know what my giftings were. And it was the elders of my local church in Wolverhampton who saw the gift, and they said, Roy, you need to stop pursuing a career in science, and you need to now become a pastor. So I didn't see that. I did not see that. So listen to your friends, and then listen to your church leaders and ask them. They might see something in you that you don't see. And a gift may emerge that you never saw. Step number 4, pray. What gift do you have? Have you ever asked God, what gift have you given me? David, Psalm 25, verse 4, show me your ways, O Lord, teach me your paths. Show me your ways for my life, your gifts for my life. And then always the Isaiah prayer, here am I, send me. This is the gift I've given to you. Okay, here am I, I'll do it. I've been running away from it, I'll do it. We all have a spiritual gift. Let's be diligently praying to try and find it. If it's a serving gift or a speaking gift, judge soberly, ask others, pray, and finally, we're closing out down here. Let us use our spiritual gift. Isn't that what Paul is saying? He lists 6, 7 gifts. They're not the only gifts, but he's basically saying, get on with it. If your gift is prophesying, prophesy. If it's serving, serve. If it's teaching, teach. If it's giving, if it's encouraging, encourage. You have a gift, find out what it is, and then do it. The church is the place for serving one another. And we thank God here at Manor Park, so many of you serve. I mean, it is wonderful. And if you're looking for a place to start serving, go to Russ at the back, and he'll sign you up to be on one of the 5 teams. So you'll come here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you'll leave about 1, and you'll help set up, and you'll help maybe do the car park or the coffee or hoovering the floors or whatever. It's a great place to start. What Paul is saying is, serve, get on with it. Just go and serve. It's one of the reasons, by the way, we prefer smaller churches. Because in smaller churches, you can't hide, you can't be a consumer, everyone has to serve. Because we need you in a smaller church. Big churches, you can come and stand on the periphery, sit in the periphery for years, and you just dip in on a Sunday morning and you dip out. All too easy to do. Now, I've got one more thing to share with you, and I want you to notice something about what Paul says. He's not merely saying serve, he is saying there is a specific way to serve. God's given you a gift. Don't run away and say, I will just use my gift exactly as I please. Find out how that gift is meant to be used. I think this is a missing trick sometimes. You have a gift and you automatically think, oh, I'm just going to start using that gift. And you don't stop to think, how does God want me to use that particular gift? Because there's a particular way of using every spiritual gift that is biblical, and there's a specific way that is worldly. Do you remember way back in 1 Peter? Maybe just go back, Kwan. Could you just go back? That's it. So if you have a speaking gift, what you have to think when you speak is, I wonder if these are the kind of words that God would say. Not my words, God's words. That means really having a Bible open, right? If you're going to encourage somebody. And if you serve, what's the temptation? You come here on a Sunday morning, you're a deacon, I don't know who's a deacon this morning, so don't get me wrong. You come at 9 o'clock and you just get on serving. It's a temptation to serve in your own strength. No. If anyone serves, he should do so with the strength God provides. You deacons, the first thing you do when you arrive, and maybe in the car on the way here, you say, Lord, give me the strength to serve. It'd be so tempting for me just to do the duties without praying that I might have your divine strength to do them. And so in this, back to Romans, let us use our spiritual gift. I want to show you just 2 examples from these verses of how Paul encourages us to use our gift in a particular way. I'm going to take 2 examples. One is giving your money, and the second is showing mercy. Now look at verse 8. If it is giving, then give generously. So Paul here is thinking about that group of Christians who have got a lot of money. Okay, I was going to say put your hands up, but I'm not going to say that. I don't know how much money you have. So if your gift, the spiritual gift God has given you, if he's entrusted you to with lots of money, you've got to, how are you going to do that? How are you going to use that gift? The way you should use it is be very generous. You got me? I remember during lockdown, it was called Twitter back then, wasn't there? And I remember this guy, he had a photo on his Twitter account. I don't know how it even showed up on my Twitter. And now called X. And he was there, and he was in front of his airplane. I might have shared this before, and you could see the doors of the plane open. It was a little video, and he was telling everyone how many hundreds of thousands of pounds of stuff was going into the plane, and it was going to be given for relief to some poor country of the world. And it was all about PR, wasn't it? Telling everyone how generous I am. Well, it's very dangerous in the era of Google, isn't it? So I Googled him. And I Googled his name, and I put wealth at the end. Okay? And I soon discovered he was a multi-billionaire. So being a physicist, I did the maths. And I worked out that what he was giving was like 0.0000001% of his total income. Was he giving generously? No, not at all. Paul says if God has given you lots of money, and if that is your particular gift, then if you want a reward in heaven, don't think I will serve any way I please. Serve by giving generously. What about the second example I want to give you? If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Now, showing mercy is an unusual gift. I don't think we often big it up in the church. You know what showing mercy is? It is being kind week by week to someone who is never grateful, who has GDD. Do you know what that is? Gratitude deficiency disorder. Some of you parents are thinking, that's my kids. Some of your parents are thinking, that's my parents. You weren't meant to say that. And you know, it's a beautiful gift, isn't it? Showing mercy. This person doesn't deserve it. They never say thank you. They never appreciate me. It's the gift of showing mercy. Now, how might the world show mercy? Come on, help me out. If you were showing mercy to someone out there in the world and you had to do that every day, how might you do it in a worldly way? Whinge, moan, begrudge it? How are you and I meant to do it as believers? Cheerfully, with a smile on our face and a song in our hearts. Yeah, that's your gift. That's your calling at the moment to show mercy. Don't you choose how to use that spiritual gift. Go to Romans 12 and work out how you should do it. And the way you should do it is cheerfully. On Wednesday afternoon, my wife arrived at her dentist in Droitwich. Fancy having a dentist in Droitwich. Sorry, if you live in Droitwich, lovely place. It's no NHS in Worcester. That's a political comment. So, and anyway, she got all the way there. She'd forgotten something. And so it's a half an hour away. She called me and said, Roy, would you bring this item all the way to Droitwich? Would you lay down the weighty matters of the ministry and come and drive all the way to Droitwich and bring this offending item? That's a whole hour out of my day. Now, I wish I could tell you that my first reaction was cheerful. But I was preaching on this sermon, fortunately. I'd already done the preparation. I already knew what I had to do. And quite sincerely, all the way there and back, with God's grace, I realized the only way to undertake this act of radical mercy in a way that was pleasing the Lord was to do it cheerfully. So I arrive in Droitwich, wind the window down, and a cheesy grinned Roy hands over the offending article. See, that's, and I told her she was going to appear in the sermon this morning. She's teaching Sunday school next door. But brothers and sisters, it's not easy to do, is it? The gift of mercy. It's a wonderful gift. Have you got the gift of mercy? God said that's what your task is at the moment. You've got children who never say thank you. You've got an aging parent who never says thank you. And your task is to continue to love them. Don't do it your way, which might be begrudgingly, but do it Christ's way, which is to have a smile on your face and a song in your heart. We have in the Lord Jesus the supreme example of servanthood, don't we? The whole of his ministry was serving others. For the Son of Man did not come into the world to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Read the 4 Gospels. He served the hungry. He served the sick. He served the demon-possessed. He served the thankless people. Do you remember? He heals these 10 guys. How many of them come back and say, thank you? Just one. He served his disciples, even washing their feet. The whole of his ministry was filled front to back, beginning to end, with serving others. And then in his final act, we weren't there. In his final act, he served you and I. When he poured out his life on the cross so that I and you might be forgiven and reconciled to our Father in heaven. The whole of his ministry was one of servanthood.